What's up, everybody? Frank and Jimmy are back with our final segment. Frank, I think we've done well tonight.
I hope so.
Absolutely. Now, as per our usual show, we save our last segment for our fantasy booking, and based on a lot of the things that we've been hearing, a couple of the rumors, Frank and I have decided that we're going to discuss what we think is possible for WrestleMania 31. Yes, we are way ahead, but it's not bad to think about these things and then cross and compare. I've never really done that this far in advance before, but I'm going to save the cards that I came up with and see if any of them reflect what really happens. Now, I came up with two different cards, and we'll go through one, and then we'll analyze, and then we'll go through the second one, and then we'll decide which one we think was better, and then Frank can present what he thinks is going to happen.
Give us your main event. Your top three, like the top three matches.
Well, this is option A. This is what I've called. This is a possible option for WrestleMania 31. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. It could definitely happen. Roman Reigns is being groomed to be the next top guy in the business. It would be very believable for him to have this match with Brock Lesnar and to finally be the one to beat him. Now, can Roman Reigns live up to the legacy of the guy that beat The Undertaker? I don't know. I think that's riding a lot on one guy who is not exactly the most over guy in the business. Right now, I think the most over guys in the business are Dean Ambrose and Daniel Bryan. I don't think Roman Reigns is in the top, guys that are over. They're not chanting his name like crazy when he comes out. They react to him. I'm not saying they sit on their hands when he comes out, but I don't really think that he is as over as most people are claiming. But the match could certainly happen. And I think Roman would win.
Would it be too predictable also?
Mm-hmm. The next match I have listed on here, obviously, is The Undertaker versus Sting. If The Undertaker is to wrestle again at WrestleMania, which I really don't think he should, I think that if he's going to wrestle again, it should be at Survivor Series in a retirement match, so that way his career could end where it started. But if he is going to wrestle at WrestleMania again, it should be against Sting, and I think it should be in a situation where both guys do not lose the match, where whether it goes to a time limit or a draw or whatever, so that way they both don't look bad. And underneath that, I would have, if they sign him, now this is the only card that I came up with where they would have to actually sign someone, but I think it would be worth it. Daniel Bryan versus Kurt Angle. Now, I don't know if in 2014 you could come up with a better wrestling match than Daniel Bryan versus Kurt Angle. It's a dream match in many ways, because Daniel Bryan is considered a wrestling machine. Kurt Angle is the wrestling machine, and he's an Olympic gold medalist. That match
I think that would be a great match.
I think the match would be incredible. Underneath that, and a lot of people have called me crazy for booking this, Bray Wyatt versus The Rock. Now, the reason this would make sense is because The Rock comes back as he always does, the people's champion, and he is back for the people. Simple. What is Bray Wyatt's job as the heel that he is? He is there to expose people for what they are. Bray Wyatt could come out and call The Rock a liar and say, listen, you're not here for the people. You're here for the paycheck. You're here for the glory. You're not here for them. And Bray Wyatt is the kind of villain that could go up against The Rock, and you know how The Rock is in the ring. He's so smooth. The guy could sell anything and make it look great. I think it would be an amazing thing for Bray Wyatt to hit The Rock with that Sister Abigail and shock the world, because that would be the shocker of the night, because nobody would expect Bray Wyatt to go over. Bray Wyatt would beat The Rock and be a made man. Now,
that sounds great, but
I don't think it would happen at all. But I'm just.
Because I think the Rock would probably destroy Bray Wyatt during the promos, and he'd make fun of him so bad, and it might not make him look good.
Well, let's also remember, Bray Wyatt is not too bad on the mic either. The guy is very eloquent when it comes to talking, but that's one match. Now, everyone's going to be surprised at this. Another match that I thought should be on that card, but it would be the last time they ever do battle, and plus I really couldn't think of anything else to do with them. John Cena and Randy Orton. The final time they've never had a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. I think that it would be. They've never had a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. Never. I think that it would have to be, but they would have to stick with it, that they never wrestle each other again. They never cross paths again. And it would solidify their rivalry as being one of the top rivalries of all time. Because let's face it, they've had many matches. They've had 19 matches with each other that had the WWE Championship or the World Heavyweight Championship on the line. So it would work. And you could have either one of them win the match because it doesn't help one or the other, to win. It's just it's an addition to the rivalry. Now, another match that I added, and I only have a few more matches left. Triple H versus Batista. Now, the reason this would work is because when's the last time you saw Batista? Batista walked out because Triple H didn't give him his way. Now, Batista has made it clear that he wants to have his retirement match with Triple H. And I think Triple H would give him that, but Triple H would be the one to go over. Because I don't think for 1 second that Batista would mind doing the job for Triple H, because let's also remember, Triple H has never defeated Batista before. So that would make perfect sense. Triple H gets the one win that he never got, and he beats Batista. Batista retires, goes off into the sunset to make many more Marvel movies or whatever the hell it is he's doing. I feel bad for Dave because he got a bad break this year at the Rumble, but he should have known better. He should have. The whole thing with the Rumble was a big cluster, and I think that Dave is better than that. I think it would have worked. Obviously, another match I added to the card was Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose. I would love it if the match paid off at WrestleMania with Dean Ambrose hitting dirty deeds on Seth Rollins and getting the win. After months and months of Seth Rollins running from Dean Ambrose and, hitting him from behind and using the authority, Dean Ambrose would finally get his win. I think that they would have a great match. It would be a show stealer. And think about that. That's saying something. On a card that you have Roman Reigns versus Brock, Taker and Sting, Daniel Bryan and Kurt, and Wyatt versus The Rock. Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose would be a show stealer on that card. And that's.
I think that you would have to do that. The briefcase would have to be up for grabs in that match.
I never even thought of that, and you could do that. It's perfectly fine. The last three matches I have on the card are Barrett versus The Miz for the Intercontinental title. It makes perfect sense. Barrett's out with an injury. The Miz won the title after Barrett got injured. Barrett comes back. He wants his belt back. They have the match. The tag titles I'd put on the line with the Ascension challenging the New Nation, which would be Kofi Kingston and Big E Langston. I don't know what their name is as a group, so I called them the New Nation. Just for now, because it's obvious they're a spin-off of the Nation of Domination. And the Ascension would go over. Now, I would continue the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal because, and this is something that my good friend Mike Marone told me that would be a great idea, you have the winner of the Battle Royal not only win the Battle Royal and gain the trophy, but that participant would go on to SummerSlam to challenge the champion. And you could constantly reference, this guy's the number one contender going into SummerSlam. He's guaranteed to get the title shot.
You could do that, or you could have him. You could have him face the winner of the challenge for the championship at the next pay-per-view.
That could happen, but the reason you wouldn't do that, Frank, is because if you have a new guy win the title at WrestleMania, it's very clear he's going to retain the title. He's not going to job right after winning the main event of WrestleMania. That's why you save it till SummerSlam, because you think, wow, this is usually the time where those title reigns come to an end. So the guy that won the Battle Royal may win the title.
Well, the flaw in that is then if you make it to that high stakes, then you're going to have somebody really, really big win that
Well,
match.
then you would be surprised who I chose to win the Battle Royal on this particular card. That would actually be Kenta.
Oh, yeah. Well, right now, a lot of WWE fans don't know much of him, and
I think by then he would be sold perfectly, because the guy's is very well spoken. The guy's very talented, and I think he'd get over just fine. Now, what do you think of that particular card? It's doable.
They're all good matches, but can they happen? Can they work? And also, you never know. You have to keep out a look for CM Punk return.
I don't think Punk's coming back. I think he's finished. And you want to know something? To a nicer guy, it couldn't happen. The guy put up with politics from day one, and that's something that a lot of the guys on the page really don't realize. They don't realize the fact that when he was in You know, when he was down there with Paul Heyman in developmental, Paul would get memos all the time, get rid of this guy, get rid of this guy. No wonder the guy friggin' bailed on them. They didn't want him from the start, Frank. You know, I don't blame him for being pissed off. I don't blame him for being discontent.
My understanding is that he wanted to be the top guy, and he wanted to be involved in the top storylines. And I think if he does come back, I think he'll come back as he'll have like a Legends contract, and he'll be working like only main events, and big matches and big stories. I think that he works.
And he'll basically become a hypocrite, and he'll become what he hates.
Right. Actually, in reality, he would. But I don't see him coming back unless he's going to be in a big top storyline.
Well, we'll see what happens with that. Now, the other card I came up with is not nearly as stacked, but there has to be a plan B, as Triple H says. But I call this option B. The main event of this WrestleMania 31, I came up with my other card, is Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. Now, the reason this would work. Now, there are also matches on this card that I also had in the previous card, and I'm not going to explain them, so we could just skim right through them. Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar would work for the simple reason of Daniel Bryan never lost the titles. He was stripped of them. And if he comes back in time for January and he is ready, and his medical is good, his impact, tests are good, and he can handle it, he wins the Rumble. He goes on to WrestleMania. He challenges Brock Lesnar. The impossible dream. Daniel Bryan dethrones the Beast, Brock Lesnar, and the match, I could picture the match in my mind. It would mirror the match that Brock had with Punk. It would probably be a little bit better because Bryan's a lot more stiff than Punk is. It'll hurt a hell of a lot more. And we really haven't seen that vicious side of Daniel Bryan in the WWE. I've watched a couple of videos of him when he was on the Independents, and even Seth Rollins has said in videos that he said that Daniel Bryan's a vicious motherfucker when he wants to be. And the match he would have with Brock would be just incredible. And I would have...
But he's survived the punishment, though.
Oh, I have no doubt Bryan could take punishment. I mean, come on. The guy's a hell of a lot tougher than anyone gives him credit. The guy friggin' took down a burglar in his house with a bad neck. I rest my case. The match underneath that would be Undertaker and Sting. I already explained how that match could happen. It's very simple. It's been built up for so long. You make it happen. Now, another match that I booked would be Roman Reigns versus The Rock.
Cousin versus cousin.
You have two Samoans getting in that ring, and they beat the shit out of each other. And Roman Reigns would go over in that match, because I don't think The Rock would have a problem putting his cousin over. I don't even think that's a question. He will not mind whatsoever.
Who would be the heel in that match?
I don't know if they would be heels. They would just be two guys that, they're both, The Rock could turn around and say, in this family, I've led this family for so long, I don't think you're ready to lead this family, and Roman Reigns could take exception to that and try to one-up his cousin until they finally say, you know what, we'll have a match, and we'll decide who's the leader of the Pride now. And this would probably be The Rock's farewell match. I don't think you see The Rock after this. The next time you would see The Rock is when he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I don't think The Rock would have a problem with that. I think that, on his way out, The Rock will do the right thing for business and give back.
How about Roman Reigns versus John Cena?
That's a match I would save for a later date, because you don't want to... Roman Reigns is... do not believe for a fact that Roman Reigns is ready yet. He has not had a WrestleMania on his own yet. Give him a chance to have that WrestleMania on his own, see how it comes off, and if it goes well, then next year you do Roman Reigns versus John Cena, and that closes WrestleMania out. So you got to think long term. Even Edge and Jericho have said on Jericho's podcast, WWE is not doing things long term like you think. That's why things are not coming off as well, because they're not thinking long term. So Roman Reigns would go over on The Rock. The next match I would have is Seth Rollins versus John Cena. Now, the reason this would work so beautifully is because everybody, now this would be the shocker of the, this would be a shocker of the night. Nobody in their right mind would see John Cena losing to Seth Rollins whatsoever. Forget that John Cena is bigger and stronger than Seth Rollins. They're preconditioned for John Cena to win. Seth Rollins would have a target on his back from John Cena because of all the times that Seth tried to cash in on the guy. They would have him cash in on him, try to cash in on him a few times. And he failed. They cross paths in the Royal Rumble or something, and I would have John Cena eliminate Seth Rollins, and then Seth Rollins causes John Cena to get eliminated, and that's how they have the build-up for WrestleMania. Very simple. It could work, no problem. Another match I would do on this card is I would have Dean Ambrose go one-on-one with Randy Orton. Because Dean Ambrose has had 2 matches with Randy Orton, he hasn't beat him. And they could play off that. Randy Orton can say, why should I even waste my time on you? You're just a lunatic. You can't beat me in a fight.
I like that. That would work. You would have two volatile guys going at it.
Absolutely. And Dean Ambrose would hit dirty deeds and he'd get the win. Now, the next match I would do is I would still have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I would still have it. However, in this particular situation, on this card, Bray Wyatt wins the Battle Royal. And he gets the title shot at SummerSlam, where he would become the champion.
Well, I don't know if they're going to give him the championship.
Oh, I do not think for 1 second Bray Wyatt's going to go his whole career without the title. And I think that, I think that it would work handsomely with him. Especially as the villain. And just think of it this way. If Bryan walks away with the titles at WrestleMania and he loses it to Bray Wyatt, think of it this way. They could build to this later on for the next year's WrestleMania. Bray Wyatt's never lost to Daniel Bryan. Think about that. So at WrestleMania 32, you could have a Hell in a Cell match with Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan, and now that Hell in a Cell match means something. It's not just...
all these matches are good.
It's not...
Right now, I think they don't they view Bray Wyatt as a guy who doesn't need the belt.
No, I don't really think he needs the belt, and he wouldn't have it for long, but you would make it seem like, okay, when you win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, you're gifted a title shot, so that means winning that Battle Royal means that you have a chance to get to the title, and that's how it would come across with Bray Wyatt, and it would work. And at the next year's WrestleMania, you have Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan go at it in a Hell in a Cell match. So that way, it's not like, okay, it's October, they're breaking the cage out. No, this is a feud that has been going on since 2013. It is now 2015. It's going to end. Now, actually, it would be 2016. And you've built up a rivalry. Now, Triple H and Shawn Michaels feuded from 2002 until 2004. 2004 is when the Hell in a Cell match took place.
Right.
So all that time it took for it to get to that point, and it would work. I would still continue with Triple H versus Batista because that's what Batista wants, and if that's how the guy wants to go out, I don't think that he should be told no. Another match I would do is a 4-way dance for the Intercontinental title, elimination style. Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, Bo Dallas, and Wade Barrett. Now, the reason this could work is because The Miz and Dolph Ziggler have a feud going on. That could easily be rekindled. Now, when Wade Barrett returns, remember, Bo Dallas did take a shot at him for getting injured. Now, Bo Dallas could say, I'm in contingency for the Intercontinental title, and Wade Barrett could say, as badly as I want to be the Intercontinental Champion, it's more important to me to make sure that Bo Dallas gets a taste of bad news and doesn't win the Intercontinental title. And that's how Dolph Ziggler could go over in that match, win the title from The Miz, where Barrett is still preoccupied with taking care of Bo Dallas because Bo Dallas insulted him from getting injured. It all makes sense. This is one thing I learned from Vince Russo, and I can't believe I'm saying I learned something from Vince Russo. When you're telling a story in wrestling, you start with logic. Now, obviously, like he said, where's logic in a fake business? But when you're telling a story, these characters would react a certain way. How would The Undertaker react if this happened to him? How would The Rock handle this situation if this happened? You have to do things logically. And the show opener for me would be Luke Harper and Eric Rowan going up against the New Nation, Kofi and Big E, whatever the hell they're going to be called for the tag titles, and those poor hillbillies would finally win because they haven't been able to win themselves out of a paper bag.
Yeah, that's a real alarming to me that they haven't won the titles yet.
They haven't won nothing. Now, the second WrestleMania card I came up with, you don't have to sign any new talent. You just have to make the matches happen. That's it. I think that both of those cards could work. I think either one of them would be fine. And I bet you we'll see a few of those matches at next year's WrestleMania. What did you think, Frank?
I have a problem making those matches. It's just we just don't know what's going to happen between now and then. But as a foundation, yeah, sure, all those matches sound good, you know.
Any matches in particular that you think we're going to see at WrestleMania 31?
I guess right now we'll have to say Lesnar versus Reigns, but I wouldn't mind seeing a Reigns versus Cena. I really liked that tension they had a couple weeks back on Raw.
Mm-hmm. Anything else in particular? You obviously think Roman Reigns is going to be in the title picture. Anything underneath that you think we'll see?
I'm shooting for Sting versus Undertaker. That would be a great match. I really would cross my fingers and hope they would pull off a decent match. I mean, they would, even if they could go 10 minutes, that would be great. You know.
Listen, I'm just in it for the promos and the build up and the stare down. That's all I'm in it for. I'm not a mark that just that only wants to see 5-star matches, bro. I just want to see those two friggin' titans of the industry just friggin' clash. I want to see Taker punch Sting as hard as he can, and then Sting friggin' pounds his chest, and Taker looks at him perplexed. I want to see Sting hit Taker with everything he's got, and then Taker sits up and Sting's like, "What the hell do I have to do?" Could you imagine that? Oh God.
If they can get in the ring, I think there's ways they can pull it off.
Well, I'll tell you what. The next show that we do, and you've got about, let's see, what's today? Today is the 28th, correct?
29th.
29th, okay. You've got 18 days to come up with a topic. Not a topic. You have 18 days to come up with your own story, because the next show we do, you and I will have our own stories of how The Undertaker versus Sting can happen. We will come up with a storyline that will make sense, that can have the match happen, what these two might say to each other, and then how we would get to the match and what would happen. The next fantasy booking segment that I would like to do on our next show is the Undertaker versus Sting concept. How would it happen, and how can we make it work? What do you think, Frank? Are you up for the challenge?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, that draws our show to a close. Frank and I will do a pre-SummerSlam show. I would love to have Frank. I hope to see Frank here for SummerSlam, and maybe we could.
I'll be there.
Maybe Frank and I could do a live show together, sitting side by side. What do you think, Frank?
Pre-show.
Maybe we could do our own little pre-show. Would you be up for that?
Yeah, why not?
All right. By then we'll have the full card, so we'll be able to make our full predictions. Hope everybody is enjoying their summer, and Frank and I will see you guys at SummerSlam. Be there or be square. Good night, fellas.